Welcome to CSI, Cooking Specialty Ingredients, the Appetizer. I'm Chef John Michael Lynch. This educational video for the Hospitality Education Foundation of Georgia is supported by a generous grant made possible by the Georgia Department of Agriculture through the USDA Agricultural Marketing Service Specialty Crop Block Grant Program and funding from U.S. Foods and Dexter Russell. In CSI, the Appetizer, I'm going to demonstrate how crops can be used to create a seasonal contemporary appetizer using classical techniques. I will be making asparagus and artichoke soup with artichoke savarin, tomato compote, artichoke mousse, and a Parmesan herb crisp. I will be focusing on the vegetables and herbs in this menu item and using them to create a starter you can use in a competition or in creating your own menu. The terms, techniques, and tools I'm using are the ones I use every day, and you should too when competing and when working in your kitchen. Let's begin our mise en place. Artichoke is the budding flower of a plant in the sunflower family. It's called the thistle. Thistle means an edible flowering vegetable. When choosing artichokes, make sure they're bright green, the leaves are nice and tight, and the stem is dense and firm. They tend to be very fragile and brittle when they start to dry out, and that can lead to a more bitter artichoke. It's important to wear gloves because the chemicals in the artichoke can actually discolor your hands, peel off the outer leaves. I'm placing the part we're going to discard on a towel so it's easy to clean up. These are tougher and can steam them up and eat them by scraping the pulp out. So I just peel down to the leaves start to get yellow. And that'll give you a natural line. Cut, just take a paring knife, cut down shallow along the stem. Try to keep your motions smooth. It's really important because if you don't do this properly, the artichoke will have all types of grooves and indentations and will make a difference for your final presentation. And then I just come back, trim off the outside to leave a nice circle. You know, you don't want to trim off too much. You don't want to trim off too little as well. So now you can kind of see the shape of the artichoke. So then using your peeler, peel down the stem. The white part, the nice tender part. If you see any green as well, come back up. So now you can see we have a nice round choke, nice beautiful stem. This is actually the choke itself. After we cook it, we'll simply discard it. It's very tough, fibrous, and very bitter and virtually inedible. It's important to keep the artichoke submerged in the lemon water so that it doesn't discolor or oxidize. We're going to start by prepping some mirepoix ingredients that are going to be used to cook out the artichokes, as well as the base for the soup. For the carrot, we're going to just make thin slices, and this is just going in the base of the artichoke stew for flavor. So we just slice down the carrot at a bias, once again to create a greater surface area to allow the vegetable to release its flavor more quickly. So to slice celery, just take your knife, hold it at a 45-degree angle, and just start by slicing down. We're slicing this thin so that it cooks quickly in the short amount of time we're cooking the artichoke. To slice the onion, slice down in a sliding motion all the way through the onion. Once you get to the center, just drop it down to the cutting board so you have a more stable product, and then finish your slice. We'll combine our sliced mirepoix. Start at the top, in one motion go down the parsnip, and in the second motion back up. You can do this all the way around, and if you miss a little part on the top, simply just go back. I'm using a paper towel to prep all my vegetables on. You can use a piece of plastic wrap or parchment, and this allows to maintain a clean workstation. And that's our peeled parsnip, our peels. You don't want to save those for stock or anything because the stock pot is used for trimmings, but it's not a garbage can. Our celery, now this is a usable portion. You can save that for stocks. To dice the celery, simply just cut it in half again, turn it, and finish your dice. The size is important because you want them all to cook at the same time. Combine our diced mirepoix or onion, celery, parsnip for the soup. I'm going to show you how to create a sachet, which is a bag of spices. So we have a little length of cheesecloth right here. We're going to take all the stems from the parsley, some thyme stems, fresh bay leaf, which is a lot more mild and sweeter than its dried variation, your peppercorns, and then what I do is just roll it up to a nice little bundle. Okay, you can even just use the cheesecloth to tie it up. And this will infuse a nice flavor into the soup base. Okay, so now let's start by sweating our mirepoix in a good amount of olive oil. We're going to cook the oil, the mirepoix, and the artichokes together to start. By doing this, we're going to start to cook the artichokes, and the oil is going to coat all the way around the artichoke to prevent it from discoloring at all. We're going to cook this for 10 minutes like this. Okay, so after 10 minutes, we have our nice sweated vegetables, the color set in the artichoke. We're going to further help this process with some white wine, which is an acid. Squeeze the lemon juice out. And then we'll add our chicken stock. To make this 100% vegetarian, you could use vegetable stock. You can make just a true asparagus stock, like you can make 100% vegetable stock using asparagus stems. We'll bring that up to a boil. We'll add our sachet, season, and we'll simmer this lightly, just till bubbles are on the surface. We'll cook this just till the artichoke's tender, and then cool it off. You want to cool it off in the liquid so the artichoke absorbs all that flavorful liquid. So now we have our artichokes that have been chilling in the liquid. I'm going to strain this liquid off. It has a lot of flavor. We're going to make our soup base. We're going to make a veloute. A veloute is a classic mother sauce. And take our clarified butter, which is butter that's been melted. It has solids removed. We're going to incorporate the white mirepoix to give the soup more flavor. You want to season as you go. We'll add a little salt, a little pepper. We're going to just sprinkle flour on top of your vegetables to make a roux. Slowly incorporate. It's going to start to thicken up because your vegetables have a natural liquid in them. So it's going to start to thicken up. Just keep whisking to incorporate all the flour. Now that we have our roux together, our vegetables, we're going to slowly incorporate our stock. So work slowly, constantly whisking in, allowing the starch granules to gelatinize or swell. It's going to thicken up. Just keep adding your liquid. You can smell all the different vegetables in there. You got your parsnips, celery, onions. You can really smell the citrus aspect from the lemon, and definitely the artichokes are apparent. So now we have our mother sauce veloute. You add cream to this. Basically, that's a sauce supreme. And then we're going to finish the veloute by adding our asparagus ends. We're going to incorporate that flavor into the base. So veloute needs to cook out for approximately 25-30 minutes. You know what it's done when you don't taste the flour anymore in the sauce. It has a grainy texture and a noticeable flavor. Simmer this nice and low for about 30 minutes. Okay, so now we have our cooked out veloute ready to go. You can see the asparagus flavors cooked in there. It's gotten a little thicker. It's got a lot of artichoke flavor, asparagus flavor, a little lemon. So we'll strain that out, and that's our veloute finished with asparagus and artichoke. We have our veloute. We're going to enforce it with a little gelatin. The gelatin in this will help us to give it the body. Gelatin will help that texture set and not run. Gelatin was bloomed in a little water till it's nice and soft, and then you melt the gelatin in a bowl just over some boiling water. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a mousse, and a mousse is combining a base, and you lighten it with either egg whites or whipped cream. In this case, we're using whipped cream. Using a folding technique, you go from the center, work your way out of the bowl to lighten the base. We don't want to stir it or mix it too much because this is the lightener. It gives it that airy quality. And if you just mix it up, it'll deflate it. So we'll just scoop it, folding it. So now we'll have a nice mousse texture that's flavored with artichoke. Great ingredient to use during spring is all types of baby vegetables. In this case, we're using baby zucchini. So if you just let this grow farther on the plant, it would be your typical zucchini you see every day in the grocery store. What's great about these is they don't have that seed development in the center that larger zucchini has, so it's a denser texture, sweeter kind of flavor. And look for ones that are heavy for their size and have shiny, unblemished rinds. Trim off your ends. What we'll do is slice the zucchini very thinly, hold it firmly. Take a really sharp knife and start from the end of the zucchini and hold it perfectly straight and square and just slide down and through. Just save your unusable portion of sliced zucchini for vegetable stock or soups. So now we have all the same size. So now we're going to take our zucchini and blanch them. You see that they cook quickly. We're just trying to make them flexible so we can line the mold and set that green chlorophyll in the zucchini as well. Mince some garlic for the filling in the savarin. When you're cutting your garlic, you want all the pieces to be roughly the same size, because if you have one larger, one smaller, then one's going to burn, one's not going to cook. So this way we have a nice even mince. Okay, so now we'll continue on with the herbs. This is some parsley we're also going to incorporate into the filling of the savarin. So to do that, mince the parsley. Thyme, pretty tricky to pick. Grab the stem, go the opposite way down the stem to separate all the little leaves. The stem's pretty tough and fibrous, so if you leave, that's likely to get caught in the guest's mouth. Have all the thyme picked. You want to cut through it. People tend to just chop it really roughly, and that actually bruises it and causes it to discolor or turn gray rather quickly. So, important step with thyme is to bundle it up just like you would parsley or any other herb, and literally slice through it nice and finely. We're going to use a little in the savarin filling to bring out some herbaceousness. After we have all our mise en place ingredients assembled in the bowl, mix all the ingredients together. I have my disposable pastry bag. We just put the filling in. We're going to chop off the top. Be careful and leave this around. It could end up in your final products. Here we have our savarin molds, and we'll use our already blanched zucchini. What we're going to do is work our way around the mold. I like to start right in front of me, place the zucchini kind of overlapping inside the mold with a little overhang in the center, but most of it occurring on the outside. We'll start about halfway inside the other sliced zucchini, slowly rotate the mold around. Press it down, and then just can use like a spoon, press the zucchini in. So, you know, we're using a lot of typical ingredients you can find anywhere, but, you know, once you know the basic techniques, you can utilize those ingredients and things and utilize your creativity and technique to create something eye-appealing, flavorful, seasonal. Another thing you can do is also alternate the yellow squash and the zucchini, so you have green, yellow, and that's also really eye-appealing. Press the filling into the bottom so it pushes the zucchini down. Pack it in as you go, being gentle not to disrupt the pattern we got going on. To close it, we'll start with the center, tuck it in, and then just start at one corner and work your way across, kind of enclosing it like a package as you go down. Okay, so now our filling's all the way enclosed. Then all you have to do is invert it onto your tray, chill it, it'll kind of set the shape a little bit. You notice that there's some the extension of the zucchini sitting in the center. Simply, you can just cut that with your paring knife in a circular motion, and then, you know, once we lift it up, they'll all come away. To heat this up, you can lightly heat it in the mold just for a couple minutes, just to kind of get the cheese warm. You don't need it to be piping hot. Then you can see that the what the final presentation on the plate will be. Tomatoes, you're using them out of season, roast them or dry them in some way to concentrate the natural sweetness that occurs in a tomato. As we cut it up, the moisture that's left in it is gonna kind of help keep the compote together. You can start to see that the juice is making it thicker for the center of the savourin. Asparagus, look for a nice tight budding stem. The ends are woody and basically considered inedible, but they have a lot of asparagus flavor. So infuse our stock with all the asparagus trimmings that are normally thrown out. The center part has lots of flavor as well, but it's nice and tender. And the tips are very nice for a presentation. So save all your tips for garnish, your centers to puree in the soup, and the ends to infuse the stock. First, slice your ends off. The trick is to bend it where it breaks. Continue on with that same line created by breaking it off. So we're going to cut away the center, use those to blanch and puree into the soup. It's going to give it the body, the flavor, and the color. To clean up the tip so it looks a little better, just take a paring knife and using the tip, notice all these floury edges. You can just take your tip, slice them off like so. So you're basically creating a flower bud. So it looks much more appealing, and you want to synchronize all your movements so as you would go through, take all the buds off, set it aside. Okay, so now once you've cleaned all your buds off, now all this is flavor, so there's no reason to discard it. So we'll use that in our stock. Using our speed peeler, you want to go nice and slow and just peel down some of the outer edge. It's going to create a nice variance in color with the white and the green, and also it's going to be a little more tender once we cook it up. Don't peel too much off the asparagus or else there'll be nothing left to eat. And there we have a nice tip. We'll set those aside. We're going to make a little cracker out of Parmesan cheese and some herbs. Just have some grated Parmesan cheese here. All we need to do is get a non-stick sheet or a silpat. Simple ring, any size, any shape will work. And just sprinkle it very lightly to fill the bottom of the mold. Okay, once you have a nice thin, even layer, incorporate your herbs, parsley, thyme, chive. You can use any herbs you have available. We'll just do that, and then all you have to do is bake them on a 400-degree oven with no fan for about 10 minutes till they're nice and crisp. And our final product looks like this. Nice crispy piece of Parmesan with some herbs incorporated into it. Okay, so now we're gonna finish up the garnishes for the soup. For the tips, we blanch them pretty quickly just to set the color, to get them tender, just to the tooth or al dente. Okay, so these are done cooking now. Drop them in our ice water to set the color. We have our blanched asparagus tips here. Trim them all so that they're the same size. I like to do this after they're cooked because when they're raw, they kind of bend a little bit. After you cook them, they always seem to not match up on the ends. Just line them up so they're all together. Grab them and then cut them down. You can save any scraps you have to puree into the soup. The other garnish we're using is the cooked artichoke. Remove just that top layer of leaves. The choke is located in the center. You can kind of see how it's curling up. It's a little purple. So you just take a spoon after it's cooked. It's really easy to take out. So just lightly go around using the tip of a spoon, scoop it out. And I kind of use my fingers in a circle to prevent the rim from cracking at all. And then just like we were talking earlier with the nice shape of the outside of the artichoke, you want to maintain that nice shape in the center. Now all this is inedible. So once we remove the choke, we'll just cut down the center. We want to keep intact the nice long stem. We're going to cut it in thirds. So at a slight angle, cut through. And now we have a nice piece of artichoke. Trim off the very edge. Now we have a beautiful artichoke to garnish the soup. Store the cut artichoke in a little bit of the poaching liquid so it maintains its color and flavor. Okay, so let's bring everything home. Let's bring the dish together. We have all our components assembled, bring all the liquids together. We have our high-powered blender here, that's really important. Our velouté, we'll add our blanched vegetables. It's gonna give a nice green flavor, reinforce the asparagus. The artichoke flavor is already in there. So we're gonna add just a touch of spinach, and when we heat it up, the chlorophyll is gonna activate and it's gonna give the soup a really nice color. Start on your lowest setting and bring it all the way up to high. So we have a homogeneous mixture now. You can't differentiate the asparagus from the liquid base, and you can see that the spinach has kind of helped to keep that green color in the soup. And let's finish it. So we'll just strain it again to get out any remaining particles in there. This is gonna be create a really nice smooth texture. Now we have our soup strained. We're gonna bring it back up to temperature. So once the soup's hot, we're just gonna finish it with just a touch of cream, just for that mouthfeel and texture. And then we'll taste it and season it one last time. Assemble our ingredients. Clean down our station, get ready for plate up. A great thing to use in springtime especially is edible flowers. These are nasturtium flowers. I'm gonna make sure that when we're plating up, we're gonna use gloves. So we have our hot soup, all our assembled garnishes are hot and ready to go. The bowl's hot, the garnish is hot. We're just gonna take the savarin away. We have the tomato compote, place that in the bottom of the mold, in the center. Poached artichoke, we're just damping them off on a towel so that the liquid from them doesn't pool in the bottom. We have our blanched asparagus tips here. These are nasturtium flowers. Arrange them nicely around. And you see we have a nice, light, beautiful kind of whipped cream texture. And then we can shape it up nicely. Would be a quenelle shape. Basically, you're just making a cutting motion with 2 spoons. You can really see all the air incorporated in there. It has a nice, artichoke flavor. And then last, our Parmesan crisp that we made. And then you just pour your nice hot soup right around the bowl. It'll kind of melt that cheese more, blast everything up. You want to make the plate visually appealing so that when the guest sees it, they're just like, man, that must taste good. So we have asparagus artichoke soup with an artichoke savarin, tomato compote, artichoke mousse, Parmesan herb crisp. Let's make sure our hard work paid off. That's good.
Thank you for joining us on CSI.
Cooking specialty ingredients.
We'll see you next time.